So let's have a look at some rubbing scenarios or some relative motion scenarios, same thing. I use those two terms synonymously. At the posterior heel, at heel lift and heel strike. So first of all, heel lift. Now, I apologise for the complexity of this slide, but essentially we're going to compare these three scenarios to the neutral or relaxed state. So let's have a look at each one. So as the foot moves through mid-stance and it comes towards heel lift, the Achilles pulls on the calcaneus, pulling it upwards. And if friction levels determine that the skin and the sock and the shoe remain in stationary contact, given that the heel has to move up a certain amount, then it's the job of the soft tissues between skin and bone to allow that to happen. So they deform or they stretch and distort to allow that to happen. Now, if we can compare that to what happens if we have slippage of the skin on the sock and see what that means for the magnitude of shear deformation, you can see the magnitude of shear deformation has reduced because the skin has moved relative to the sock. So as the bone has moved upwards, the skin has been able to move at an earlier moment in time with the bone movement, and therefore that reduces the magnitude of shear deformation. Similarly, if we get that slippage between the sock and the shoe, again, shear deformation is less because the skin has been able to move in sync with the bone at an earlier moment in time, thereby reducing the magnitude of that shear deformation. So if we have a look at them all on that single slide again, in all three cases, we have soft tissue shear deformation. So blisters can occur in all three scenarios. Rubbing on the skin only happens in one of these scenarios. So abrasion to the skin surface can only happen in one of these situations. And it won't happen if it's a very low friction rub, but if it's a high friction rub, you will have the potential for abrasive injury to the skin. An abrasive injury or an abrasion is essentially a superficial to deep wear injury. Yet, all three scenarios can cause skin damage, and that's because we're talking about the skin damage that occurs with repetitive shear deformation, which isn't a superficial to deep wear injury, it's a mechanical fatigue within the layers of the epidermis. Interestingly, shear deformation will be highest where there's no relative motion between the skin, sock, and shoe. Given that the bone has to move up a certain amount, the soft tissues will have to shear or deform to allow that to happen. And the more rubbing that occurs at a material interface, the less shear deformation that has to happen within the soft tissues of the skin. So basically, that isn't a blister prevention strategy, and these are.